So, guys, like we said, Vettori Holland recap. Yeah. We got to start at the top.
Absolutely.
Kevin Holland versus Marvin Vettori, the main event we were all waiting for. Not really. It was supposed to be Till. And before we even talk about that fight, did you see the tirade Till was going on, dude, against Marvin Vettori after the press conferences?
No way.
Dude, so Vettori came out in the press conferences before the fight, guys.
Right.
And he was saying a lot of shit. He was saying he didn't know if Darren Till's injury was real or not. He was essentially calling Darren Till a liar and scared.
Okay, come on, hey, come on, Vettori. I mean, you can't really fake breaking your collarbone. I think that's a shot in the dark there. I mean, I respect the call out. I know he wants that fight, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, after this impressive win over Kevin Holland, which is kind of, no disrespect to Kevin Holland, but kind of expected, with Kevin Holland stepping in short notice and Derek Brunson essentially giving Marvin Vettori the blueprint on how to beat.
He did say that. He goes, thank you. You should thank me, Marvin, because I did give you the blueprint to beat that guy. And he absolutely did.
And he did, so, but yeah, let's start here at the top of this fight. This is kind of everything that we expected going into this. One thing with Kevin Holland, though, dude, is you never know. And this guy, he's so fast. He's so explosive. And, dude, I'm telling you right now, if this guy just worked on his takedown defense, he could be an elite contender, if not a future champ in this division. I'm talking middleweights. If he cuts down to 170, he'd look great as a welterweight. But, as you and I were talking off air, the welterweights are full of wrestlers. So no matter what, this guy has got to go back to the drawing board and really work on his takedown defense. And Kevin essentially said that too, man. Everything he was saying, he goes, look, I'm not trying to be a wrestler. I'm not trying to change who I am as a fighter. But if I could better prepare myself for this takedown defense and keep this on the feet, he goes, I could be, an elite contender in this division. And I agree with everything that he's saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, you saw it. I mean, he was stinging Marvin Vettori. Every time he landed a punch, you could tell it was actually doing damage, and it was stinging the man. It was making him think twice, and that's why he was going for the takedowns, man. It seemed easy at times. It really did. Yeah. Like you said, if he did work on his takedown defense, I 100,000% believe he absolutely is talented enough to become champion.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is he motivated to do that? I mean, we were talking last week on whether or not, is he being serious when he's saying he doesn't care if he's ever going to be champion? And I just don't know. I mean, the man loves to talk shit. We all know that. He loves to look cool. We all know that. But it's like, are the motivations there to become champion? And even at 170, there are great wrestlers.
Incredible wrestlers.
I actually agree with the memers nowadays because, the memers were saying, send that man to Dagestan for 9 months and then check in on him. And, dude, that's exactly what he needs.
Yeah.
He needs to be attacking. He needs to be not attacking. He needs to be defending constantly against the best wrestlers he can get his hands on, because if he figured that out, especially at 170, he would probably have some of the fastest hands at 170 easily.
Dude,
without a doubt, I would say he has the fastest hands at 185.
Oh, unquestionably. I mean, he is laser fast, dude. And the combinations he puts together. Marvin Vettori is an elite contender in this division. And I mean, there were multiple times throughout this fight where Kevin Holland was catching him. I mean, he stung Marvin Vettori a few times, but Vettori, being the savvy vet that he is, knew after seeing that Derek Brunson fight that, hey, if I'm in a lick of trouble, I'm going to go for that takedown, and Kevin's not going to be able to defend it. I mean, there were 4 times it was just common judo trip, and he pulled it off 4 times within the first 2-3 rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually you're going to be able to defend that, but unfortunately, with Kevin Holland, he just can't do that, and he's not at that level yet. But there is no hype taken away from Kevin Holland for me. I think he's a gangster for stepping in there on 10 or whatever, 16-day notice, whatever it is, after the Derek Brunson fight. I got tremendous respect for Kevin Holland. I'm still on the bandwagon for this guy. All he's got to do, man, is just go back to that drawing board. Yeah. And it was just recently, I was reading this article before we started, and allegedly, kind of rumors right now, but Kevin Holland says, he may be starting to work with DC for the wrestling.
Beautiful. I can't think of a better American camp than American kickboxing when it comes to wrestling. Like, I know the name's American Kickboxing Academy, but it's like, dude, they have savage wrestlers in ground game. And
Habib?
DC,
right?
Luke
DC,
Rockhold, like, dude, there's people that crush men underneath them. So if that happens, good, because that's exactly what he needs. It's kind of shocking, though, because for someone who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, it seems like he has almost zero game off of his back. Is that a thing where maybe it's just the guys at 185 are too big? and there's too much weight and he can't do it? Is it going to be different at 170? Those are questions that I think need to be answered.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Tabor. And that's kind of where I'm at too. You know, you and I have talked about this a lot about Kelvin Holland probably needing to drop down to welterweight because he is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. All right. We know that. But I think, you know, when you're only cutting 5 pounds, I mean, these guys in the middleweight division are savages. I mean, you look at Paulo Costa as a prime example, dude. I mean, this guy walks around at 225, 230.
Crazy.
I mean, that's insane. The guy's cutting almost 50 or 40, you know, 35, 40 pounds, you know, to hit this middleweight division. Kelvin Holland cuts what, 5, maybe 10 pounds just to be gracious here?
I don't even know if he does, dude. What did he weigh in at? Like 183?
Right.
Like, did he even cut weight, or is he just walking around at that?
Yeah, and you know, unfortunately, you know, you and I always talk about the weight cuts too, and how we'd rather see them at their natural weight classes, but that's just not the case in this sport right now. Yeah. You got to cut weight, a little bit of weight, right? And I think if Kelvin Holland's walking around at 183, I don't think the cut would be so drastic for him at 170. And like, even though there are tremendous wrestlers at the welterweight division, I think if Kelvin Holland went to the drawing board, just worked with DC for a few months, I think this guy could be an elite contender and a contender for the belt at welterweight. Give him 2 or 3 fights. You know, because like this guy can still fight top 10 guys in the welterweight division, still coming off two losses. And it's such a weird thing that we're bringing this up too, because, you know, he lost both fights. He lost 10 rounds in the last 3 weeks. But again, there's something dynamic. There's something still very special about Kelvin Holland.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, dude, if he found a way to keep it on the feet, I really do believe he could beat anybody in the world.
Yeah.
Anybody at any moment. I mean, he's that talented. His hands are that fast. He is that accurate.
And who has stung Kelvin Holland? Who has put Kelvin Holland's light out?
Nobody.
No one.
Nobody in the UFC. Not Thiago Santos, probably one of the deadliest strikers in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't able to do nothing? And let's keep in mind, if I'm remembering correctly, that fight was at middleweight.
And was it? No, it was at 205.
It was at 205
because he was ranked he was a top 5 contender at 205 pounds.
Okay.
I don't remember who he was supposed to fight, but that fight fell out, and Kelvin Holland was like on 3 days' notice.
Yeah. Which is even more insane that he was 205.
Yes.
And didn't get KO'd by Santos.
And Santos just took him down the entire time. Yep. And he still talked shit. Still was the Kelvin Holland that I love.
Yep.
You can't tear this man down. Did you see the Instagram post he made after the fight?
You know what? I think you sent me it, and I ended up looking at it. He said, well, yeah, I learned a lot. Thanks for you guys humping me so much, or something along those lines.
I love
pretty
it.
fucking funny.
Always class.
Always class, yeah. But you know, I don't want to focus too much on Kelvin Holland here, because we also must talk about Marvin Vettori here and where we're going to see him next in this middleweight division. Will he get the next title shot with Israel Adesanya?
No. Easy as that. You heard it here first. No.
Give me the theory as to why.
Because Derek Brunson did the exact same thing. If he got a title shot over Derek Brunson, I would say that's crazy. If he got a title shot over Robert Whittaker, I would say that's crazy. And he's calling for it. He says, I think I've done enough. I'm on a 5 or a 6 fight win streak now.
5-fight win streak.
Yeah, so he says, I've done enough. I want that rematch with Israel Adesanya. Unfortunately for him, I do believe there are contenders that are more worthy. Like I just said, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker. Kevin Holland said it himself. Do the Derek Brunson Marvin Vettori fight so they could hump each other and see who wins the best. Who throwing shade? Yeah. No, but seriously though, like Derek Brunson just did it. I don't believe he should just jump at Derek Brunson or Robert Whittaker. If you made that Derek Brunson fight, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that's the greatest fight night of all time or it's the greatest main event of all time. It's not. But I would watch it. I'd be very entertained. And I would say the winner of that fight would probably be next in line. We'll see what happens with this Robert Whittaker and now Kelvin Gastelum fight.
Yeah, coming next weekend.
If Kelvin Gastelum flatlines Robert Whittaker, dude, I would much rather see that rematch than a Marvin Vettori rematch. Like, let's be real. Let's be real. Could you imagine a Kelvin Gastelum Israel Adesanya 2?
See, I'm not behind that, man. I'd rather see
only because of the way he's on a 1-fight win streak so far. Yeah. After losing 3 times in a row since that fight.
And see, that's my only issue there. I do believe, especially as you were saying, if Gastelum goes up there and upsets Robert Whittaker,
starches him or something.
Yeah, starches him and completely upsets him. Though that's a very impressive win, I think you have to look at the overall resume of Marvin Vettori and what he's been able to do in this middleweight division with winning 5 straight. Mm-hmm. He's got to be the next guy in line. Now, if Robert Whittaker goes out there and wins that fight, then I think Robert, being the former champ, being a very dominant champ at middleweight, I think deserves that rematch slightly more than Marvin, which really sucks for him. You know, because I mean, he has won 5 in a row. He does have a case here. But I mean, I think Paulo Costa Derek Brunson are going to match up. So, I mean, that literally just leaves Jared Cannonier, but he's coming off that loss.
I would be fine with the Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier fight. And then if Marvin Vettori gets that victory, I think it just takes one more. Just because of the way Derek Brunson just beat Kevin Holland, he needed that Till fight.
Yeah.
He needed that Till fight.
He did.
You know,
He
if he would have beat Till, I would be like, yeah, 100% title shot.
Yep.
Even though Till is coming off the loss of Whitaker.
Right.
I would still say, okay, it's worthy. It's just it was a Kevin Holland who just got completely exposed by Derek Brunson just a few weeks before. So it's difficult for me to get behind Marvin Vettori deserving it. And I keep on thinking of the last fight. I wasn't entertained by that first fight. I remember watching it thinking, this Israel Adesanya is very good, but I just there was something about that fight I just wasn't enthralled.
You're referring to the Marvin Vettori,
the first fight.
The problem is though, that fight was what, 3 or 4 years ago.
It was a while ago now.
It was, and that was Marvin Vettori's last loss. I mean,
yeah,
let's keep in mind
you're right.
the champion. You know, I mean, I hear you. It wasn't the greatest fight around. But again, we have to look at the body of work. And I'm just using this as a prime example, okay, not to rub it in your face, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't want you to think that. But you got to look at the Stipe versus Ngannou. That first fight back in 2018 was boring. Stipe dominated that fight. But since then, Francis Ngannou had evolved as a fighter so much that the fight was completely different. I think Marvin Vettori has improved so much since that first meet with Israel Adesanya that I think that would be a very entertaining fight, man. I think that would give a lot of credibility to Israel Adesanya too, because I mean he's been able to defend that belt against a lot of these guys at middleweight.
Mm-hmm. I think he just needs a bigger name. I mean, Jack Hermansson's a big name, and Kevin Holland, without a doubt, is a big name as well. He needs that name to where we go, okay, he's the legit number one contender. I just don't see it yet. If he beat a Robert Whitaker, like I said this last week, if Robert Whitaker beats Gastelum and they don't give him the title shot, I'm going to streak the building.
Yeah.
I'm not going to actually do that. But, I'm going to be a little appalled because, if there's ever a guy that deserves the Israel Adesanya rematch, it's the person who's undefeated at middleweight other than Israel Adesanya.
Unquestionably, I 100% agree with that. But the question remains is we still have that fight on April 17th. Mm-hmm. We don't know which way that's going to go. I think if Robert Whitaker goes out there and he beats Gastelum and he finishes Gastelum in any capacity, he is the clear-cut number one contender. And I just feel for Marvin Vettori. I think in this position, because it's not his fault, with the whole Darren Till situation, it really sucks for him. But I do agree. Robert Whitaker goes out there and beats Gastelum, does it in impressive fashion. He's got to be the next guy. Former champ of the world, defended his belt multiple times. How do you not give the guy the shot?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's one more fight. He even said he's going to be front row, and he wants to be front row for that fight this next weekend. So hopefully he is, and we'll see. I guess we'll see. I mean, how long has it been since? It's only been a month.
The on fight,
since the on
it's only
fight.
been about a month, maybe a month and a half.
We could still be 3-4 months out before Israel takes a fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's time to get in our church coin bets, my guy.
Yeah.
I keep going with my heart.
You do, man.
I put 1,000 on Holland. You know what? I'm probably going to put 1,000 on Holland in the next fight. I fucking love the guy. And I really do believe at any moment he could separate anyone in the UFC from their consciousness.
Yep.
It's just, if you are a decent wrestler, you don't have to be a great one. If you're a decent wrestler, there's a good chance you're going to get the man down. And that's really unfortunate for him.
It is. But that is such a small thing to change. And it's not going to change overnight, but give Kevin Holland, I think the best thing for Kevin Holland's career, take 6 months off, really evaluate what you want to do, work extensively with wrestlers like DC, or if you were to go, go work with Habib or whatever else, get that technique down and then make the decision. Am I going to welterweight or am I going to stick around in this middleweight division, but take 6 weeks off or 6 months off, really work on it. And I think, dude, I think we're still looking at a top contender.
Absolutely. Go to welterweight. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Go to welterweight, figure out your takedown defense. If you even have let's say you stop half the takedowns, dude, you're a top 5 contender. You're not going to tell me that Colby's going to take him down every single time if he could stuff a few.
Right.
The thing is, wrestling is so heavy in this sport right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there was at one point, I think every single champion other than Israel and Volkanovski or like Max Holloway. They were the only strikers that were champions. Every single other champion had a wrestling base. So it's so heavy and dependent in this sport right now. If you don't have any takedown defense, it's rough. You
crucial.
are not going to win the big fights because everyone is so well-rounded nowadays. It's an extremely crucial point.
Hence, mixed martial arts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Every casual, I'm sure, just fucking hated that main event.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Stand them up, bro. Stand them up.
Yeah.